Alright, it is currently 3:54 in Corpus Christi, Texas, and something amazing is happening. It's freaking snowing outside. But that means we're getting closer to winter, and that means we need to buy some stuff because it's about to be Christmas and the holidays, so let's talk about that. Woo. Snow. It's a freaking winter wonderland out here. It's crazy. Alright, so this is going to be kind of a buyer's guide for Christmas, the upcoming holidays, and we're going to go into all kinds of saltwater stuff from inshore to jetties to surf fishing, kayak fishing, and even more. And right now I'm going to put some timestamps up on the screen, but also you'll be able to see those later in the description of this video. There you go. I never mind getting some extra fishing lures to try out, so that's what we're going to go over first. So to start off with lures, we have to start off with soft plastics, because no matter what, you always have to have soft plastics if you're a saltwater fisherman. And the ones I have here are the most tried and true, in my opinion. These are just proven to work, and if you want to buy some, these will definitely work for you. First up, we have some down south lures. Look just like that. It's just a very basic soft plastic, but these are definitely going to do work. And they're pretty cheap. I think about $4 to $5 a bag. This is probably the most ubiquitous color. It is a chicken of the sea color. Now these down south lures, I like these in clear water to moderately stained water because they do have these smaller tails that do give a little bit of action, and they look really realistic. They're a very small bait, so a fish is not going to be afraid to hit this, and you're really going to get a lot of bites on this guy. Second type of soft plastic I have to mention is the egret wedge tail right there. These guys right there. Another basic one, but these have a wedge tail, as the name would say. And the cool thing about this egret wedge tail, it has that wedge tail, and that's gonna thump it around a little bit more. You can use this guy in clear water as well, but with that bigger thump, it's gonna be good in a little bit more stained water, even more so than the down south lure. And finally, we have Norton Sand Shad Jr. This Norton Sand Shad, it has a moderate boot tail on there, so it's gonna be pretty much middle of the road. It'll work in pretty much all watercolors. And of course, to go along with any soft plastics, you need a bag of jig heads. These guys right there, just to rig them up just like that. And in choosing the jig heads, I would recommend probably something like 1/4 ounce along with 3/8 ounce for a little bit deeper water. Now let's talk about topwaters, which is kind of a weird conversation to have this time of year, but they can still work this time of year if we have some warmer days. But you're definitely going to want these during those warmer months, because this is some of the most fun ways to fish. Now if you watch my videos, I used to use a lot of Spooks Juniors, but this guy right here has overtaken the Spook Junior for me. It is the Rapala Skitter V. The cool thing I like about this is it feels a little bit heavier than the Spook Junior. It casts better, and it has this V hole. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of an angular thing, and that helps it work very well even if there's a little bit of chop on the water. And then the second topwater I have is the Mirrorlure She-Dog, and I really like this topwater because it is probably the loudest one that I've heard. Compared to this is pretty loud too, but this is really loud, and that's going to really transmit through the water. Now let's talk about some more general inshore lures when you're kayak fishing, wade fishing, fishing out of the boat. One of the most underrated ones, I think, is the Mirrorlure Mirrodine. Now this guy's been getting a lot more play recently, I've seen, but a couple years ago, not many people were using it, but I think this guy is pretty much as good as a soft plastic in a lot of cases, and it does different things, which is really cool. One cool thing is it has, you get some flash off of there, which you're not really going to get much off of soft plastic. Perhaps quite uninterestingly, we have the Johnson Silver Minnow spoons. In Texas, you have to have some of these in your box, man. They're just flashy. Fish are just going to react to them and eat them up, especially redfish. Get you a gold colored one in 1/4 ounce or 1/2 ounce, and you're gonna catch some redfish. All right, now I said you need to have some of these lures in your box, but for certain, you have to have one of these, no doubt about it. You gotta have one of these guys. It is just a straight up popping cork. I think this is the Cajun Thunder popping cork. This guy has saved me on those tougher days a lot of times. I don't know why this thing works so well, but it works very well. I think this is the first one I bought and I still have it and it's still doing work. Just put a DOA shrimp under here or some gulp shrimp, and any kind of shrimp kind of lure is gonna work under here, as well as just straight up soft plastics will work too. And if you've been watching my videos at all, you know I've been jetty fishing a lot, so let's talk about some essential jetty fishing lures. I think you guys know what the first thing is gonna be, and it's the big old thick old spoons. I've been using two different weights of these spoons, 2 and 3 ounces. 2 ounces I like for some shallower jetties, say 10 to 20 feet, and more than that I go with the nice 3-ounce spoon like this one. I don't know what the brand is on these, but they will be in the description off of Amazon. And again, spoons, they're just some flashy things. Anything with a big enough mouth is gonna eat these. Redfish, I've caught trout, sand trout, catfish, you can catch jack crevalle. Next up, we got these two guys, and I love these two guys because they have the bills. And those bills right there, the good thing about those is they will roll around the rocks, and that's what the jetties is, it's just rocks. This guy is the Yozuri 3DS minnow in the 100 size, and I like this guy a lot for snook. You can catch trout, you can catch mangrove snapper, and the other one is the Rapala X-Wrap in the 10 size. And another tactic that's gonna be good everywhere, including the jetties, is using some of these big swim baits. Oh wait, that's not very big, is it? What about that one? You're saying, oh, that's not too big either. Okay, we got even one bigger. These are the Storm swim baits, and they do even come in a bigger size than this, but anything that's gonna eat bait fish, there's always mullet at the jetties and also menhaden. This just resembles that, and anything that's gonna eat those will eat this as well. I've hooked a bunch of snook, actually on this size. I hooked a bunch of snook on this size, and tarpon too, big old tarpon. And on the smaller size, you're gonna catch stuff like trout and whatever's out there, ladyfish, Spanish mackerel. And the cool thing about the jetties is that there are some extremely prized fish there. And the reason they're prized is because they are very hard to catch and they're big. So next up, I have a tool for those fish. Is this guy right here, the Spool Tech. You know, I had a smaller one of these guys that I've been trying a little bit with not too much luck, but my boy Jeff, he's been using this to great success. And the reason is, when you get a giant fish that's gonna shake its head around once it's hooked, it's gonna use the weight of the lure. And the good thing about this lure is that the hook pops out, so they're just gonna have the weight of the hook, and it's gonna stay in their mouth a lot better. These are more expensive lures, but when you're going for those prize fish, it might be the difference with this guy right here, the Spool Tech. Now, if you are looking for some lures that are more apt for this type of year, for this colder weather, we've got a couple for you right here. We got the Paul Brown. This is the Paul Brown Original, and then we have the Paul Brown Fatboy. Now, these guys are deadly and renowned for catching giant trout, and that is because they have a real lethargic movement for those more lethargic fish. And those eyes, look at those eyes. The predator fish are gonna see those and eat these suckers up. So these are definitely deadly in these colder months. And another thing you're gonna wanna get is some gulp swimming mullets and chartreuse for those flounder. And you can also get those, you can also get gulp shrimp for flounder as well. Okay man, I shot that earlier because I thought that was all the snow we're gonna get, but I just looked outside and it's actually crazy. Oh my God! In Corpus freaking Christi. Dude, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with snow in Corpus Christi right now? That just makes me happy. Now I have to finish this video today. It has to go out today because this is the day that this happened. Snow in Corpus Christi, crazy. Christmas miracle, man. Well, we had our fun outside in the snow, so I guess we'll jump back into it. All right, now let's get into some of these guys right here, rods and reels. We're gonna start off with some rods. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, I have not tried every rod known to man, so I'm just gonna talk about the ones I know, and the ones that I know are good and I could recommend. So probably my all-time favorite rod right here is one that I've broken twice. So how can you break two rods and it still be your favorite one? Doesn't that mean it's defective? No, because it was my fault both times. I jammed this sucker in rocks trying to save a turtle and it broke, of course. And then I tried to flip a giant ladyfish and I was high sticking it. So yeah, it was my fault. But what I do like about this rod, it's a casting rod and it just feels, just the way it feels is just amazing, and it has the perfect action. And this is the Falcon Medium Gulf Caster, 7/6, 1/4 to 3/4 ounces. Great inshore rod for sure. Highly recommend. And if you want a spinning rod as well, I like the Coastal XGs for spinning rods as well, but I don't think they have this same one, so I would just go with a 7-footer in medium. Now if you're on a tighter budget for an inshore spinning rod, I recommend the Penn Squadron. It's just a really decent rod for a very nice price. You can get it from 25 to 40 bucks, and I've used it a lot and I liked it a lot. So it's decent for the price. And then for a little bit of the jetty fisherman, if you want to get into some jetty fishing, you're gonna need a little bit bigger rod. And my favorite rod right now for a decently low price is the St. Croix Triumph Surf. And this is an 8-footer. It is 1/2 to 2 ounces, and it's just a good all-around rod. It has good action and it's pretty light, so that's nice when you're making a ton of casts every day. So we talked about some rods, let's talk about some of the reels. This is my go-to inshore and light jetty fishing reel. It is the Lew's Tournament Pro G. Casts super far. It's a bit pricey, but it's been really good. It's not even a saltwater reel, but it's been handling the saltwater just fine. It has good drag on it and very good braking system, and it just casts really well. And then if you're on a budget, there's this guy right here for you. This is the Abu Garcia Black Max. Not a saltwater reel again, but I used to use this guy in saltwater all the time and it held up great. And you can get these suckers pretty cheap nowadays. I've seen them for as low as $25 up to about 50 bucks. Now for my real go-to jetty fishing reel, that is the Penn Slammer 3. This is the 5500. It's a really nice size, light enough to cast pretty much all day. And the nice thing about it is it's completely sealed. So this guy is gonna last the test of time. This might be one of my favorite reels of all time. This is an excellent jetty fishing and surf reel. Plus it has a fidget spinner. Now if you're looking for a budget inshore spinning reel, I have two options. The first is the Penn Pursuit 3000. The 3000 is the smallest size it comes in. I wish it did come in a little bit smaller, 2500, but the 3000 is also good for inshore. The thing about this reel is I like everything about it. It has a loud drag, which I kind of like. Just gets the job done for a cheap amount of price. A cheap amount of price, says the thinker. But the thing about this reel is I've had two of them, and if you dunk it, it's gonna be bad news because it does corrode quite easily. And that's the thing about buying cheaper reels. That's probably the main thing, is that they're gonna have a little bit harder time in salt water. So the second budget inshore spinning reel I have is the Shimano Sienna, and this runs about, I think it runs about only 30 bucks, and it's just a decent, really decent reel for 30 bucks only. And for inshore, I would recommend 2500 to 3000 size. All right, let's take a little sidetrack here and get a little bit serious. Something people have been asking me a lot is about shoes. For some reason, people have been asking me about shoes. First up, I got these guys, which have gotten a lot of questions. These are the Keen's Uniques, and I've been wearing these a lot just because they're easy to put on, put off, and they have decently grippy soles, and they're somewhat durable. Breathable too, lets water in and out. Really don't recommend these for the jetties because they do have this open back. If a rock hits you in the back, it's gonna slice up your heel, but I wear them anyway just because they're nice to wear. Best use I think for these guys are just maybe if you're going in the kayak, if you're not gonna be wade fishing, you can slip these on and have some nice shoes that you don't have to worry about wearing socks. Next up are the Forever Last Reef wading boots. That's what I've worn a lot in my kayak videos where I'm gonna go do some wade fishing as well as when I go on the boat with my dad. I wear those. They're good because they have a very thick sole, and they're good if you're gonna be around stuff like oysters and stuff like that, because it's not gonna, it's gonna defend you from stuff like that, but they are a bit thick and clunky. So another one I would recommend are the Forever Last just flats wading boots. They're a lot thinner, a lot less clunky. All right, now let's talk about some fishing accessories. First off, if you're gonna be into saltwater fishing, then you're probably gonna need a cast net. I do recommend a cast net because you can get your own bait. You don't have to go buy bait for copious amounts from those bait stores. Now in Texas, I believe the max size you can get is a 7-foot cast net or 14-foot diameter. So I recommend, what I use is I use a 5-footer. 5 or 6 I think is a good manageable size to throw. Next up, something I think everyone should have for their own safety, for the fish's safety, are some of these. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do that because this has been in a lot of fish's mouths, but this is the fish grips. Just some simple fish grips. 15 bucks right there. It's gonna help you handle bigger fish, and you can put this in their mouths while you're removing the hooks, just so those hooks do not slide into your own hand. And now, you guys know that I was cutting up a lot of fish recently, living off the fish I could catch. So something I found really useful was having a fillet board that you can put on your bucket. Highly recommend that if you're gonna be keeping some fishies to eat. All right, and it's 2017 coming up on 2018, and there's a lot of new fishing gear out there. Something you guys cannot look over, something you can't go out on the water without having. It's this right here. A fishing drone. You need a fishing drone. You're not gonna catch fish without it. Put a popping cork on there. So that's, you know, I just got a drone, but don't recommend it for fishing. But it could be a cool thing to get for Christmas. And I've only crashed mine about 4 times so far, so we're doing pretty good.